Margaret Tinsley. I was born in Hackensack Hospital, which is now Medical Center. So I have lived here all of my 86 years. My parents came from Garrisburg, Virginia. My father came to Hackensack, moved to Hackensack. He came by himself. My mother still stayed in Virginia with 8 children. 8 children were still in Virginia. Months and months and months afterwards, my mother and the 8 children came up on a train to New Jersey. My father purchased a home, money being so scarce, but he did purchase a home for us, which is still standing here in Westwood. And then when my mother came, then 3 children were born, and I was one of them, next to the youngest. And now out of 11 children, 7 sisters and 3 brothers, there's only 2 left. In Virginia, my father did insurance work. My father also farmed, as most people did years ago in the South, but farming was not his living. When he came to Westwood, my father did measuring at a place in Hillsdale. It was a place where they had lumber for anything you need lumber for, homes, anything. And he was very, very good with math, excellent. My father was very smart.
Unusual family.
We were unusual family, and when they arrived, it was a big thing in such a small community, and everybody was saying, oh, there's some people from the South, and they have so many children. We had to hear that all the time. But one thing I will say, my father provided, my mother never worked, provided for us. And at times he had 3 jobs in one day. He even worked at the movies here.
At the Westwood Cinema?
At the Westwood Cinema for quite a few years. Of course, that was not a main job. That was a side job. And he did that, but he provided. This is what he had to do. Our family was never seeking for anyone else to give us food, clothes, anything. Very independent people. Went to Berkeley School and then to Westwood High School. That's what they did. They did not like it because they found prejudice going on, and it was a big shock to them, even coming from Virginia, because the schools that they went to in Virginia were all black. And with myself going to school at Berkeley, everything was fine. But then when I went over to 3rd Avenue, that's when a change came. That's when I really noticed more out of high school. I went to Bergen Pines, working with contagious diseases, taking care of patients. I liked it very much. I worked with all male patients with tuberculosis because it was raging at the time. All right, so then after working with the men, that didn't work out because they were mostly young men, and I was 19, and I was beginning to feel a little uncomfortable. So I did go to the head nurse and told her that I was leaving, and she begged me not to leave. Then she said, I know just the place for you. Right across here is Building 5. It's all children. That was right up my alley. So I dashed there, and to my surprise, I had the most fantastic job. I've worked in many offices since then. I loved the jobs, but that was the most rewarding job, working with the children, with polio, lots of polio. But the amazing part is Dr. Little, the founder of Bergen Pines. Dr. Little had tuberculosis, and that's when he started, when he recovered, and that's how it came about. Just Dr. Little and me, making rounds with him. That was my job in that building, holding polio children for him to take the fluid from their spines, helping him with the whirlpools and all that for the children. A couple of children did have tuberculosis and meningitis, and that's what I work with. He was just so kind. He showed me so much. He was not impatient, and Dr. Little and I got along very well. I have a letter that Dr. Little wrote me when I retired from there. And that letter, it's all little, quite frayed and it turned a little yellow, but I saved it. And that letter, it states, at any time that I wanted a job there at Bergen Pines, I would always be welcome and always have a job there. For a couple of years, I went to Berkeley School to read to the children, and I would spend the day there. And at the end, when I did leave, the teacher sent a lovely scrapbook, all the children, pictures of them, and thank you letters to me. And at the end, most of the children had a P.S. And the question was, how old are you? Because I know they were thinking, if you went to Berkeley School, because I did tell the children, I went in all the class, I went to kindergarten, I went in their big dollhouse. I just had a great time that day. I just had such a wonderful time. It was something about being in Berkeley School. And even the smell of Berkeley School, even from the cafeteria, it was something about the little containers of chocolate milk, and all of these things were in my head when I entered in that door.
So
it was real. I just had. They took a picture of me in the house. I just had to go in there and go in that little house. Oh, it was just wonderful. The children at that age did not really know about the prejudice. Got there. Not so much even with some of the children, but with the teachers, and not just with black children, I noticed. With a lot of the Jewish children, they also were getting that type of treatment. When we had, we called it was gym at the time. I don't know what they call it now, I guess physical education now. And we had to do different exercises and other dances and holding hands. Well, we didn't have any hands to hold unless it was a black hand. And they made it very obvious also. But as I said, and the teachers knew this. They saw this. They saw us just standing with our hands, and waiting for a black child to come and hold your hand. They never corrected that. They never said anything. So in the junior high and high school, it was a change. And a lot of the people that came to Westwood and lived here a long time, speaking of black people, they didn't experience that.
They did not experience it, or they did experience
They didn't experience that. See, if you moved here when even you in your teens, I just observed, did my best so I could get out of there. I mean, it wasn't unbearable, and nor was it every teacher.
Right.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's very good, excellent for children, for schools, and it's also excellent for, I would say, for senior citizens. And I know when we were teenagers, we didn't know what did we do. We walked to the ponds. We walked down dirt paths and picked blackberries and apples and pears in the orchards. That my father would let us have a little garden to ourselves, plant and do things. We were all, and I learned to ice skate. It's a little pond down right in the back of the hospital now. and I had these strings wrapped around my kneecaps because they were so big and stuffed with tissue paper. I learned to ice skate very well,
Yeah.
I must say. Did do things, they made up things. We made doll houses out of cardboard boxes and things like that. We made pies in the backyard from sand and put little wild cherries on the top and made pretend that we had a bakery, and these were all things that we made up. She was wonderful. Now, see, when she started going, because she went to Berkeley, of course, and Westwood High School, and things had passed then. She had a wonderful time. She was in the dramatic club. She won. It was in the paper. She won as best actress, and yeah,
that's great.
And I taught her how to ice skate. She turned to that, learned it very quickly.
Well, she had a mother that was very good at it. And then she went to college.
She went to college, yes. She went to a community college for 2 years. After that, she went to a college. It was in New York State. She graduated from there. She is a person of many talents. Now, where she got it from, I don't know. It certainly wasn't from her father. But she did very well in life, I will say. She did, and when she got married, her husband retired as a CEO in a company in Chicago. They didn't want him to retire, but he decided that he would. So now they live between Chicago and Florida.
Nice.